I spoke to Brent right before he left. As soon as Russians stepped onto Ukrainian soil, I texted Brent and I said, "Are you going?" And he says, "Not sure." And then 5 minutes later, he goes, "I'm going." And that was Brent. We were then in touch, talking logistics, contacts. I'd worked with Brent for 15 years. I grew up in the former Soviet Union, so we had a lot to talk about in terms of contacts and logistics. And of course, I said, "Be safe," because I say that all the time. But to be perfectly honest, I never really meant it in the sense that I never believed anything could happen to Brent, because Brent was the best in our profession. Brent was so careful, so good, and always came back. So this morning when I woke up to the news, his brother's wife broke the news to me. It was before it broke to the public, and I was devastated. My wife is devastated. My family is devastated. Brent's family is devastated. And the entire journalism community as a whole is devastated. This was, we've lost like the best that we had. Like, he was the best. Like, I am not saying that is how I talk about him when he was alive. That's how I'm talking about him now. He was the best. And, we're talking about a guy who had 25 years of doing this. He's been in every war zone in his lifetime and brought back the highest awards in our profession. But beyond that, the best reporting in our profession. He had this ability to connect with people, with shine a light in the darkest parts of the world with this innate empathy, this humanity that is, most humans aren't able to capture it the way that he could, because we don't have the ability to. And he could, and it's just devastating that he's not with us anymore. I know that he was there doing a story about refugees fleeing Ukraine into Poland. He's been spending a year working on this documentary about it. I know that he was with a close colleague from Harvard. They were both Nieman fellows together at Harvard, journalism fellowship, and his friend was wounded but survived, and Brent didn't. And they were shot by Russian forces. That's all I'm liberty to say about the details right now. He was working for Time Studios, doing a long form documentary series about refugees around the world. And so this was a last minute add onto it. So yeah, that's who he was there for. And that's, Brent was, if there was a story like this, you knew Brent was going to be there covering it better than anybody else. And he knew that he was going to be at the front lines. This is just the first time we've never had him come back. Brent's first huge story was he did a big series in Iraq called Off to War, and it was the best footage coming out of Iraq the entire war. It was shot by Brent Renaud and his brother Craig. That's when I first contacted him, saying we got to work together. Then we were in Juarez together, covering the drug war. In Somalia, covering the rise of al-Shabaab. We were in Iraq together, covering the rise of ISIS. And Brent's been everywhere in between, on the streets. He won a Peabody for his story about violence on the streets of Chicago and at-risk youth. He did this incredible documentary for Vice about homeless LGBT kids on the streets of New Orleans. If there was suffering and pain and somewhere that wasn't getting attention, Brent was there, making anybody care. That's what the ability he had was, you don't know about this problem, you don't know about these people, you don't think you care, you watch a story of Brent's, you care. I don't care how hardened you are, you'll care, because that's what he could do. So incredibly skilled. This was not some young some young war tourist running off to Ukraine. Brent is the most experienced war journalist. Brent's probably the best war journalist. I would say up until he died, he was the best war journalist alive. That's what makes this so devastating, is he was the best that we had. And it just goes to show that, of course, the first American journalist to be killed is the best one. That's how incredibly unjust and absolutely ludicrous this war is. And of course, Brent was going to be there trying to shed light on it. And I hope the world pays close attention. And I hope anybody who ever thinks that the news is fake catches themselves when they utter those words out of their mouth, and know that people are dying to bring you the news.